Thanks, Chair. I have to say I share very similar concerns to the last speaker in relation to our participation in this with a view to having a directive in the future. And I have the most serious concerns. From day one, I've condemned the illegal invasion of Russia, and I stood with sanctions. However, I've come to the point where I'm seriously questioning the efficacy and the what's happening in relation to those sanctions and who they're actually affecting the most. And I think as an active, neutral country who's respected in the world, the least we might do is question. And when questioning becomes dangerous, as it has in this stall, when I heard the Taoiseach yesterday respond to those on the left in relation to being supporters of Putin and reducing the argument to that, it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. And I'm not going to waste my few minutes in putting on the record once again my abhorrence of what Russia has done. But I'm seriously worried at what Europe is becoming. And I'm seriously worried that more and more we're going into a consensus mentality as the best boys and girls in the class. And no other type of view is tolerated, no other type of question, and those who dare are demonised as Putin supporters. People who never in their lives supported Putin and who always questioned the system that was there when the establishment were doing everything possible to play up to him. I have the most serious concerns about NATO and what's happening. I do not think it's acceptable that our Taoiseach is in Spain at the moment or on his way there to take part in meetings organised by NATO. Although when you read it sort of nuanced, he's not taking part in all of the meetings, just some of the meetings. What type of meetings? Will we have the records of those meetings? Will we have the minutes of them? Do we know what he's saying on our behalf? And yet we have a Europe that's building up its fortress more and more. And we look at the International Organisation for Migration and the report, up to 600 people attempting to reach Europe by sea have gone missing in the first 3 months. The updated figure is 900. 900 people that we know about gone missing, the highest figure since 2014. What is Europe doing about that? For those that, you know, are looking at me as if they don't know how I could be coming up with this. Surely there's an obligation on us, a moral duty to question what is Europe becoming that's allowing for this type of death and destruction in the Mediterranean while people still swim and go on holidays there. 900 people on the 27th of June gone missing trying to reach the borders. We have the recent, and I haven't had a chance to look at it in detail, in relation to Turkey, Sweden and Finland and the deal that's been done in relation to the Turkish people there. A deal that we did with Turkey in relation to helping build up Fortress Europe in 2015 and paid them, I would call, dirty money to deal with the refugee and asylum problem, outsourcing at every single level. We have a report which I have only had the chance to look at briefly, but which I will go back to, from Amnesty in relation to Lithuania's behaviour. A member of the EU, a proud member of the EU. Perhaps the colleagues around me might look at what the Amnesty report has said about Lithuania. Member forced out or locked up, refugees and migrants abused and abandoned. Published this week at the end of June 2022. It catalogues the treatment suffered by refugees and migrants who crossed from Belarus in 2021-22 at the hands of the Lithuanian border guards, the public security service, detention centre staff, lawyers and so on. The human rights violations documented by Amnesty include violent pushbacks, torture and other ill treatment, including sexual violence and humiliation and so on. Time is running out of me. That's on Lithuania, member of the EU. We have an Amnesty report on Israel. We have this government do nothing about that. The Amnesty report clearly is saying Israel is operating an apartheid system. The government is still considering, months later, their response to that. We have a war in the Yemen that none of us are raising anymore, and we're talking about over 300 to 400,000 dead, backed by Saudi Arabia, which is backed by the powers that be, including our country. So why am I saying with all of this? Is Russia right? Absolutely not. But what is our role as a small, neutral country? What does our experience tell us? That we need to take courage in our hands and stand up and show that there's a different way. that sanctions need to be questioned at some point as if to see if they're affecting what they're supposed to be affecting. If we just finally, with your indulgence, Chair, if I just look at Cuba and what was said about Cuba when President Kennedy brought in sanctions that are still there. 1963, the Assistant Secretary of State, Lester D. Mallory, wrote, "Every possible means should be undertaken promptly to weaken the economic life of Cuba, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow government." So if you question the obvious question, how does making Cuba poorer, sicker and more isolated support the people of Cuba? And of course the people of Cuba have persisted. That's just one specific example of sanctions. At this point, instead of joining the boys' club, we should use our voice to question our sanction, and the girls' club, absolutely, and certainly the deplorable comments of van der Leyden. But it's time to question. It's time to ask questions and not make that an offence. Thank you.